Welcome back, guys and gals. So today is August 16th, which is the day that our mayor has put into effect the vaccination mandate for restaurants, entertainment venues, and fitness centers. So yeah, I have to test it out to see, is it really true? Is it really true they're going to ask for our vaccination card? But I went, and I was in Times Square. You guys see where I went live, and they didn't ask. I'm like, okay, they didn't ask. But he did also say that they're not really going to enforce it until September 13th. So it kind of makes sense when you think about it, though, because restaurants that are for profit, right, they're in favor of their customers. They're in favor of profits. The customers are the ones who bring the revenue, right? So, of course, they're going to side with the customers. They're not going to ask customers for vaccination card if they don't have to. But anyway, this is not what this video is about. So, I did get an email from someone. I think it's funny, you guys. I think it's funny that you guys think that I am silly enough to believe that these emails are factual. I know they're fiction. I know they're made up. But I'm just going to entertain it anyway. So, I'll read it. It's from an African American woman, allegedly. Shall I say a black woman? Let's see what this email says. I just got it, by the way. It came in at 11:21 today, 4 hours ago. I kind of love this spot. I usually sit like on my chair, couch, or my bar stool, but I'm sitting on the floor today, and it feels great. Alright, so I think white men, y'all be doing the most, right? Y'all just do the most. I know this email comes from a white man. You know why? Because I don't think I've really ever gotten an email from a black woman. And when I look at my YouTube analytics, the majority of people who watch my YouTube videos are men. They're not women. So I'm like, I know this email did not come from a black woman, but whatever. Let's just entertain it anyway, because I think it's a different perspective. Hypothetically speaking, if it did come from a black woman. So the email reads, I had some more questions about your last video, which I did ask you guys to feel free to inbox me if you have specific questions or topic ideas for a new video relating to my video on how to get your partner to participate in alternative sexual activities. So I put it out there. I did ask you guys to go ahead, inbox me, right? Because I'm looking for motivation to do different video topics, and I'm for the shits. And I have time. Yes, I have time because I saw my last client on Friday. So I have time, you guys. I'm completing my pre-doc internship. And, in a matter of days, I'm going to be on vacation. I'll take you guys with me, of course. I'll take you guys with me. That you guys are coming with me on vacation. In a couple of days, like before you know it, we're going to be in the subtropics. But anyway, so this person says, I had some more questions about your last video. How to get someone involved into a sexual activity. No, I said alternative sexual activity, right? I have always had a fantasy of sleeping with other men. I'm like, this email, so you know this is fake, right? You have always had a fantasy of sleeping with other men. Listen, I thought, when I read that, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, this is a homosexual, right? This is in the closet homosexual man. But no. Think about it. If you think about like a fantasy of sleeping with other men. Sorry, you guys, this is just naturally me. And it kind of reminds me of like when I used to work at the prison in California. And I actually used to do like evals for the incoming inmates. And also, I used to do evals and screen out inmates who were malingering. There are inmates who kind of try to fake like something is wrong, right? So that they are placed on the mental health unit because they are considered high risk. On site, as they say in prison terminology. Basically, they have stirred up some trouble within the prison walls and they want to seek protection. So they'll fake like they'll fake like they are having a psychotic break or fake like they're suicidal. Now that's a very important issue, right? Not to be taken lightly, but you know, it was interesting reading between the lines and studying behavior and really closely observing like small changes, like the littlest thing, right? I think that some people just think that I don't know, I think I'm stupid, I guess. But whatever. Let's go with it, right? Let's just go with this. All right. So this person goes on to say, I've always had a fantasy of sleeping with other men. But I don't know how my husband would take it if I talked to him about it. Okay, so presumably sleeping with other men while you're married? Because as it reads, like it kind of reads as though, okay, you haven't really had that much experience prior to your husband. So you have a fantasy of sleeping with other men as if like you were a virgin when you met your husband, which we know, like, what is the likelihood of a woman being a virgin when she meets her husband? Very small chance, right? Like, seriously. And I mean, I get it, you guys. I get it. I think what it is that people, obviously, there's an agenda. There's a segment of my viewers who are for interracial relationships. And I think it's not so much about talking about cuckolding. It's more so about talking about interracial relationships. If that's what y'all want me to do, just say that. Just say that. Like, I know that's what you guys want me to do because you emphasize race in your videos. You emphasize that. Because you could have easily just said, you know what, I'm married to a man, but I want to explore and have sex with other men. You didn't have to emphasize your race. But whatever. So, let's get back. I don't know how my husband would take it if I talked to him about it. I've been with my husband for 7 years now, and sexually things have slowed down. Poor thing. Yo, y'all don't make marriage sound like... Okay, let's say this is real. Y'all don't make marriage sound enticing. Slowed down? That would be some bullshit. Can you imagine, like, being with someone, being married to someone, and then the shit going dry? No excitement whatsoever. The bedroom, you're not really, like, enjoying the sex. You're just, like, laying together. Yo, you fall asleep next to this person every night. I can't even, you know what, I can't even imagine that. But anyway, this person also goes on to say, I feel like it might spice something up in the bedroom. We recently started to watch porn together. Recently. Yo, this shit is made up. This is made, oh my gosh, whatever. It has seemed to help a little, but I want to tell my husband about my fantasy. I want to explore, they misspelled voyeurism. Voyeurism? / cuckolding. They meant voyeurism / cuckolding. That's how I know it's fake. You want to explore voyeurism. You want to explore. Not him. Voyeur is a person who gets off by watching someone have sex. See, that's why I know this is fake, because you slipped up, right? You done fucked up and slipped up. You go from speaking about yourself to speaking about... You're speaking about your fictional self as a woman, but really you're speaking about yourself as a man, because I know it's a man who wrote this. You're speaking about yourself as a man. Voyeurism. You want to watch a woman have sex with multiple men. You want to watch a woman, your woman, or a woman, for that matter, have sex with multiple men. This is a man who wrote this. This is not a woman who wrote this. This is a man. Because in that case, if it was a woman, right, and this is really her fantasy, you would say, like, you want to explore exhibitionism. How would you want to explore voyeurism as a woman who is desiring to have sex with other men? So y'all not thinking this thing through. Come on now. Do you have any input how to approach someone? I am a black female and my husband is white. Go figure. I think he might feel intimidated or jealous over the fact I want to try to sleep with a black man. How do I even begin to ask him or encourage this? You know how I know this is fake? Because it's just the way you wrote it. I mean, it's just a dead giveaway. Yo, and then look, you capitalize the I in certain areas, but in other areas it's not capitalized. Whatever. Okay, whatever. But, like, come on, let's just be real. Let's just be real. Now, y'all know I already said that I'm kind of, like, over talking about cuckolding. That shit kind of played out because I already addressed this question. I was going to, like, directly send a message to this person and reply to say that, you know what, like, here's several videos you can watch that answers your question because I've already talked about this. And you guys have enough to say that I have a fascination with cuckolding. It's just like, no, you guys have a fascination with cuckolding. This is what you guys like. I'm not opposed to it because, listen, I like to talk about alternative sexual activities. And even my colleagues are messaging me now wanting me to address their questions relating to different things, you know, BDSM. And, like, I like those conversations. Like, it's very enticing for me. And very engaging for me to interact with you guys and answer these questions. So listen, I don't mind it. I'm thinking in terms of like my audience, because you're not the only one watching. There are other people who watch my videos, and it's just like, okay, when you get like a shitload of freaking videos addressing the same thing, it kind of gets played out. But whatever, let's just go with this, all right? Let's just go with it. Black female, husband is white. This is a thing. We know that majority of women, by the time they get married, they've already had sex with multiple men. So it's not a question as to whether or not you want to explore or that you have a fantasy of sleeping with other men, because you've already done that, right? So let's go with the idea that a woman has already, like, explored her sexuality prior to marriage. And then she gets married and she's contemplating the idea of continuing that behavior, though she's limited, right? She's in the confines of marriage, and of course, what our society says is that when you're married, you know, it's supposed to be monogamous. Exclusively committed to that one person that you vow to be with, to death do you part. And now you're wondering if your partner will be okay with you going back to your old ways. I know this email is fake, right? We already addressed that. But let's just go with the idea that it's a real email, right? It's a real concern, desire of a black woman who was married to a white man who she's been with for the past 7 years, and the sex has slowed down, and now she's contemplating stepping out of the marriage and having sex with other men. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about what the traditional man would say, like his reaction, right, to this. Like what the fuck? Are you kidding me? And his reaction would be that only because of his assumption, right? You know, a lot of people assume that sex, when a person has sex with another person, they look at it like, oh, that must mean that you care about that person. That must mean that you are attached, or you're going to develop an attachment to that person. That's why when people cheat, right? When people get cheated on, shall I say, they are like, yo, it threatens their whole entire existence. Why? They begin to think that they are inferior, they're doing something wrong, they're inadequate. Like, what did I do wrong? A lot of times it ain't even about you. Nothing to do with you. More so to do with the other person and what they want. They just want variety. And so, in the mind of a married man who is a traditionalist, and he believes that marriage is sacred and it should be between two partners who love each other, and there's no stepping out, there's no, infidelity, there's no extramarital affairs, and if so happen there is some extramarital business happening, then it's a threat to the sanctity of the marriage. It's a threat to what they've established and what they've built for so many years. It's a threat to their trust, their intimacy, what they've established. Possibly, right? Because for some people, when they have sex with other people, yeah, I mean, it does create an attachment. But for some people, sex is just sex. Sex is just getting stimulated. And if it's just getting stimulated, my question to this hypothetical black female person here in this email is, can't you get that from your partner if it's just about being stimulated physically? Now, we know as people age, men specifically, right, their sexual prowess, their tendency or ability to be able to maintain an erection, their sexual virility is compromised as they age. Maybe that's the issue. And so you're just looking for that fulfillment that you're not getting from your male counterpart, which is understandable. But the question is, will he be able to understand that? Because I think that the problem is that when a person feels like their position in anything in a relationship is threatened, like that threatened in the sense that they could be replaced by someone else, that's where the problems arise. So if he has a sense of security knowing that you will never replace him, his position and he himself serves a purpose in that relationship, that he is still valued in that marriage, are you valued? That's the thing though. Like, are you valued? What is your value that you bring to her as a white man, apart from sex, apparently, because you ain't bringing shit in that department. What are you bringing to that relationship? Like, if you have something to show for in that relationship, maybe she depends on you emotionally for emotional support. You've established a good friendship. There's this thing that is going around social media where people are questioning, women, black women specifically, are questioning black men who say, oh, they just want a friend. They just want to be friends. Like, there are some black men that say, oh, I just want a friend. And black women are like, you got to be careful when there are black men who say they just want to be your friend. First, though. Because they say they just want to be friends first. And it's just like, I think we got to be open-minded because, yeah, on one hand, a man that is only seeking friendship from a woman, the counter argument to that is like, okay, I don't have sex with my friends. We can be friends, but I don't, just know there's a stipulation to friendship. Like, I don't have sex with my friends, right? But on the other hand, to a man's defense, is like, maybe he just really wants to build that intimacy. And I think laying the foundation of friendship first is important to building a solid relationship with a person. Because there are no really expectations. And when you come in a relationship with expectations, then you bring sometimes your own baggage. Like, whether male or female, right? You look at that potential partner through the lens of your past, what you experienced in your past relationships, because they are a potential partner. You're looking at them as a potential partner, so of course you're going to look at them through the lens of your past relationships, past partners. But if they're just wanting to be your friend, and it's not really just, because a friend is significant, right? It's a big deal. It's important to have good friends. Then I think that isn't, like, that's when a person is wanting to be a friend and you have that solid foundation built, like, that's a big deal. And so going back to this story here, like, if a black woman and a white man, or it doesn't even really matter the race, but a married couple are, is together, it's just like they have this bond that they've established that's valuable. So the idea of him feeling that he may be replaced, how? He could never be replaced. There will never be a replacement for what he's established in that relationship with her, especially if it's a good friendship. Nothing like a good friend, right? Good friends sometimes are rare. I'm not talking about like associates and people that you hang out with and have wine with or go to dinner with and share like bits and pieces of your life with. I'm talking about a friend. A solid friend, person that you've like really opened up to, you've become very vulnerable with. Nothing like that, and it's not easily replaceable. So as long as you have that foundation, what is there to fear? What is the threat? There really is no threat, I think, in that situation. And what the other men would bring to her in the form of sex is just an additive, right? Sex is like an additive to that. That's just like a woman going to get a massage by a professional masseuse. That's just an additive. Now, granted, of course, she has to pay, But that's still a very intimate exchange, though. When you think about it, I've gotten like endless number of massages here in New York and in LA, and that's very like, yo, you're undressing, you're only in your underwear, you're completely exposed. You know, it's very intimate, and that's a service that a person, only certain people know how to provide. So it's just like the same thing. If that man is not being able to fulfill her need with respect to being penetrated a certain way, why not? Like, you guys know, I'm all for being satisfied, right? Being, walking in your being liberated, walking in your sexuality, standing tall in who you are. And you should be able to do that. Like, I feel like if you say you've been with this person for 7 years, and you've been with a person for 7 years, that's a long time. Y'all should know each other. Y'all like y'all family. So that should be an easy discussion, I think. Very easy discussion. And I think perhaps he may feel like, okay, well, he may be willing, like part of him, because I think this is the thing. When it comes to anything in life, right, any decision that is being made, we have like a fragmented self, right? A lot of times we like to think that we are this whole person, which we are, but we are a whole person made of many different parts. And more often than not, there's a part of us that may think a certain thing, right? May see a certain thing in a certain perspective. And there's a part of us that sees it in a totally different perspective. So I don't think it's as hard as you make it out to be, if you know how to tap into that part of him that is liberal, that part of him who is open-minded. There's a part of him who is open-minded. No matter how rigid you may think he is, there is a part of him that you will find within him that will consider it. Now, he may consider it under certain conditions, right? Maybe he may feel like, okay, to make it fair, if you are allowed to do this, then I should also be granted the opportunity to do this, right? This being stepping outside of the marriage, so to speak. And it's not really stepping outside of you, like everyone is involved in this. Like stepping outside, I look at it as like going behind someone's back, doing it against the marriage. It's not really stepping outside if it's all inclusive. Everyone is involved. You're having an open discussion about this first, making sure that everyone is comfortable. No one feels pressured into agreeing to this. Everyone is comfortable in this scenario. And the person that you bring into your marriage, I think it's really important that you get to know that person. I say this because, come on, it goes without saying, like, you got to know who the hell you're dealing with. There's so many kind of crazy people out there. You don't want to just feel like, oh, I just want to go out there and just get fucked, and you go and you meet someone and you bring this person to your home, right? And then like it becomes like this crazy Lifetime story or Tyler Perry story, and you end up regretting it, like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Freaking destroyed my freaking marriage. Like that movie, is it called When the Bow Breaks, yo? With Morris Chestnut, and he and his wife had trouble procreating, and they freaking hired a surrogate. And she was freaking crazy. She got attached. And it was like, it goes without saying, I mean, that's only a natural process. She got attached to the baby growing in her womb. She was a young woman, by the way. They brought her in like into their home. You know, she got attached to the baby growing in her womb, and then she developed like these fantasy about her having an attraction. And it's not even really a fantasy. It's just like she developed an attraction towards the husband. That this is a surrogate mother that they brought in, developed this attraction to the surrogate mother, and then she just, you know, in the movie, of course, they painted her out to be like this deranged woman that is just insane because they assumed like she knew what she was signing up for. Right? Like she went through the whole process of, they made her get counseling. You know, that was a part of the process of becoming a surrogate, I think, with the company that they chose her from. But it doesn't mean anything. Because nature is nature. Like, you can't really compete with nature, the natural instincts that surface. And so, while you may have in your mind, I think I said this before, like, you may have in your mind a prediction, a visualization of how you want things to go, and you've talked it out with your partner for many hours or days about how this is going to unfold. And it may unfold like that to a certain extent, but then chance happens, right? And it just may not. Things don't always go as planned. And then, you know, the unexpected happens, and like, you are disappointed, you are saddened, you're discouraged, you are afraid, you feel threatened, your relationship feels threatened. It's just like, you have to just keep your mind open and knowing that many possibilities could surface, basically. Keep your mind open to all the different possibilities that could surface. Like, talk about that, right? Through a realistic lens. And sometimes, even when you think about things through a realistic lens, sometimes the unimaginable happens too. Like, I didn't even think about that. I thought about every possible outcome that could play out. I didn't think about that, though. So you want my perspective on how do you begin to ask him or encourage this? You know him better than I do. I just think what I find very interesting is that how you guys come to me wanting my perspective, which I don't even know how the fuck y'all make me goddamn. Like, y'all make me try to be an expert on alternative sexual lifestyles. Like, y'all coming to me asking me for advice. That, to me, is interesting. Now, I don't mind offering my perspective, though. But you know your partner better than I do. You know his personality. I think you kind of know how he's going to respond. I think your question is, how do you navigate his response? Because you know your partner, you've been with him for 7 years. How do you not know how he's going to respond? You're wanting to know how to introduce him to the idea? I don't think you should go like feet first in it. Just like jump right in it and be like, oh, I want to see what other men. Hell no. You don't do that. You express to him how you feel about him. Like, show gratitude. You got to start with gratitude first. Right? Because you got to understand, you're working with a person's ego. And no, everyone is not a narcissist. But everyone does have an ego. Everyone has feelings attached to their ego. So, you know what desire is, and you know how that's going to rub up against his ego. You know that. You should know that, right? So you kind of want to massage his ego a little bit, right? Not too much, but just a little bit. Soften him up a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit, right? Show that you have gratitude for him. You appreciate him, which you probably already do anyway. So it may not even really, that may not even be necessary because you probably already do that on a consistent basis anyway, right? So you already accomplished that step. You can already go past that step. The next step would be to just have a conversation about where you guys are. Sometimes couples don't even, I think, they're not communicative about where they are. Like where they are, like in the relationship, right? Where do we stand? Are you happy? You know, what can I do to make things better? In some relationships, I think that's like a regular conversation, and in some relationships, they don't really do that. So that may be kind of awkward, just coming out, you know, wanting to have a discussion about where you guys stand. But I think before you begin to go into where you stand, I think it would be appropriate to see where he stands. Because you may have a perspective on the relationship in terms of your satisfaction in that relationship. And I'm sure he has his too. Right? Can't forget the other person. So he has his perspective on where he stands in that relationship. I think you should start there. You know, be selfless. Because when you think about it, like, your desire is kind of selfish in a way. I mean, it's selfish in a general sense. Unless he's into it. Shit, he might be into cuckold, and then it's not really selfish. It's a mutual interest, right? Mutually beneficial to both of you guys. But let's say maybe he's not really into it. So it is kind of selfish, right? What you're wanting of him to agree to. So you should start with where he stands. What is his satisfaction? You know, get to know. And that may be hard for him to come right out and say. Right? But there's different ways you can pull the truth out of a person to see, like, are they even happy? And of course they might say, oh yeah, I'm happy. If I'm not happy, I wouldn't be here. You know, he's expressing, like, his love towards you, gives you affection, hugs you, and all that. But their happiness is on it's on a scale, it's on a spectrum. So to see, like, what degree of happiness does he have in that relationship on a scale from 1 to 10. See if he can be honest. You know. And if it's not a 10, which he most likely won't say a 10. I mean, it's rare people. It's about 7 years. It's rare a person 7 years going to say, oh, it's a 10. I don't know. Some people may be like, oh, yeah, it's a 10. 10 out of 10. I'll give you a 10 out of 10. Satisfaction in this relationship. But I doubt it. After 7 years, I mean, you're different if it was just like, okay, 3 months, then yeah, might be 10 out of 10 because you're still in the honeymoon phase. But after 7 years, nah. Probably going to be more like 7.58, 9. And then see how it can get to a 10. You know? Then once you have his perspective on it, he feels seen. Once he feels seen, then you can be seen, right? Then it's your turn to be seen and be heard. That's your opportunity. After you have completely seen him and met him where he is, then you can be seen. Now, his answer, right? When you ask him, okay, what can get it? Let's say if he says the degree of satisfaction in a relationship is a 7.5, let's say, or 8, and you ask him, okay, what can get it to a 10? And he tells you, I don't know, may come up with something that is more politically correct in the relationship, right? Something that is agreeable, easily agreeable by any woman in a marriage, right? He may actually lick his toes, or I don't know. Do something that is not too far-fetched. And then what you're asking, that shit is far-fetched. It's far-fetched, right? But I think it's worth also exploring like his perspective on that. So before you go and jump the gun and be like, okay, I want to sleep with other men, you gotta like open up the discussion of like take yourself out of the equation, take him out of that equation, right? So that you're not talking about you and him directly, but you're just talking about the idea of it. The idea of cuckolding. That's very safe, right? Because the idea can be portrayed in anything. I mentioned this before. The idea can be portrayed in a social media story or a video or whatever. A movie, you know. It's just an idea. It's not threatening to the relationship if it's just an idea. See his response to the idea of it first. You know. Then with the idea, you can play around with his perspective of that idea and your perspective of the idea. And this is also going to be the test of your relationship too, right? Because we know that although two people, they say, become one, you still have a sense of autonomy. You still have your own individuality, right? You guys don't agree on every single thing. There have been, I'm pretty sure, many examples of situations that have come up in your marriage over the course of 7 years where he had a certain perspective on a thing, and then you had a totally different perspective on that same thing. How did you guys navigate that? So here we are. Different scenario. Same rules apply though, right? You can have a perspective on a thing, and you can have a different perspective on the same thing. It's just perspective, and then you guys could go deeper in exploring those perspectives. But I think, and I said this like to a person who just recently inboxed me, because this is a colleague of mine. She identifies as a dom, and she wants to know how to be a better dom with her male partner. By the way, they're long distance. And I'm like, you gotta go deeper than the physical. Not to negate the physical, but go deeper than that. Like, understand what are the motivations behind him wanting to be pinched by you, him wanting you to dig your nails into his skin. Yes, that brings him gratification, but that's just a mechanism by which he receives gratification from you. What is the true underlying reason that is driving the desire for him to receive pain from you? And being that you guys are long distance, he obviously gets off on being dominated. I think it would be more beautiful to just be able to dominate. This is what I said to her. It's more beautiful to just be able to dominate him without even requiring physical touch or your physical presence in front of him, right? So I say that to say, like, sometimes we get caught up in the physical. The physical is just a manifestation of the spiritual aspect, right? And I think it's a reason, obviously, why are you drawn to wanting to sleep with different men? This is not a question of judgment. This is a question of exploration and curiosity to see, right? What is it about that? That's something, and I think in exploring like that psychological aspect of it, that psychological dynamic to what's motivating you to want to sleep with different men, then that's a great leverage for you to be able to build conversation on with your partner. So that it's not so much about sex, right? It's not so much about sex. Like your vagina meeting with other dicks. That's not really what it's about. Because I think if you think about that solely, and he thinks about that solely, that is the biggest inhibiting factor for him wanting to say, all right, I'm down for it. You got to go beyond the physical. Talk about that so he understands like your need. And that goes to a whole deeper level. But on that note, I want you guys, like, I think, we have made a number of videos talking about cuckolding and alternative sexual lifestyles, and it's fun. But I think it's even more interesting, like, to dig even deeper. That's the hard, like, I think that's the very hardest, like, it's hard part to do, right? It's harder to really dig deep within one's psyche. Obviously, because, that's what makes people vulnerable. And it's almost like, okay, you are exposed. Oh my gosh, I'm exposed. But if we could continue to have an ongoing conversation about this, because, I don't know, for me, sex is very surface level. Just talking about fucking, I don't know, it's kind of mundane to me. That's like, people talk about porn. It's just like, of course I watch porn, but it's not, I have watched porn. I don't really engage in watching porn, but I have watched porn. I have to enunciate my words because I know my accent can make my words kind of run together and you guys misinterpret what I'm saying. But, yeah, to me, it's not exciting for me just sex, right? Talk about sex, fucking. It's cool, But let's go deeper than that. Can we go deeper? To the person who sent me this email, can we go deeper? Sometimes y'all hide behind these fictional stories. I get it. You want to remain anonymous, and you will remain anonymous. You don't have to fabricate a story, though, to remain anonymous. You can just tell your story, and you will remain anonymous. I think you'll benefit more from it in that perspective, in that way. And like I said at the beginning of this video, like, I have time. I have a nice break. I'm going to be on a nice vacation. Nice little break from seeing clients before I begin my postdoc. So let's do this, right? Let's have fun with it. And I'll come back and I'll revisit. Because I think you guys are kind of fixated on cuckolding because I think with my videos, and I admit, sometimes, like, I do touch the surface because you guys are surface. Right? You get what you put in. Go deep and I'll go deep. I promise you'll get a lot more out of this video if you go deep. There's a fly in here. Yeah, I think flies are kind of spiritual. Like, they have a sixth sense or some kind of special sense because for this, like, I think it's the same freaking fly too, yo. I was in a meeting and the fly, like, I swear to God, he went right to the fucking eye of my camera. Like, how does a fly know to go right to the eye of the camera? And it made the entire screen black because he covered the freaking eye of the camera. I'm like, oh my gosh, these freaking flies, yo. On that note, I will catch you guys later. Feel free to drop your comments below. And we can do a follow-up video. But this is just touching the surface. I can go real deep if y'all want to go deep. Take it there. Catch you guys later. I love you guys.